This is our third day online discussion series that we have started, that organizing by the Panya Discussion Society. So, as you know, in these uh, difficult situations, we as a students we try to do some things, sharings that what we are studying, being the place wherever we are. So yesterday we discussed about the most venerable Ananda, the great attendant of the Buddha yesterday. And today our topic is actually about the Buddhas. That means Buddhas means the Lord Buddha, the Gautama Buddha. So basically today what will happen is we will little bit go further than giving some explanation of the Buddhas in the general ways. So we will see the Buddha today, not some kind of, we will see the discussion today to look at the Buddha actually based on how he was a great teacher in order to show the path for the emancipations. So even in that case we will see, before that we will see there is some problem situation about the Buddhism. We have some terminological problems, we have some culturing problems, we have some understanding problems, Western problems. So there is some misunderstanding. So before that, we will discuss, we will talk a little bit about those things. Then later on, we will go for the slide. Today's topic is actually the Buddha. So we will see, we will discuss about the Buddha from the angle of thinking or looking at the Buddha from the angle of as a great teacher. So the title is given like here, the Buddha, the great path instructor, the path shower for the ultimate happiness. Then the words of the day, actually the words of the day means actually this is the very important words that given by the Buddha. That is, a Buddha can only show the path and the follower have to follow or walk through that path by himself. So Buddha can say only, okay, this is the way. If you walk through, at the end of this path, there will be some kind of this kind of great result. And if you go this way, there is a result like this, for killing and not killing. So killing the animals, result is like this way, and not killing the animals, result is this way. So Buddha has already explained all the things. So now the person, the follower, we have to follow this. That's why it says, the Buddha only show the path. You must, whoever it is who want to be happy. For example, we must walk through it for the ultimate happiness. So Buddha can't make it for us. We have to walk by ourselves to achieve that great happiness. Then, okay, this is the content. So if I talk about the content, so today's discussion we will have the introductions, who is the Buddha, his biography, biodata of the Buddhas, and the next thing is actually aim and hypothesis of Buddhadhamma. So here the aim or hypothesis or the final result, the intentive result of this Buddhadhamma we will discuss. And this is aim or hypothesis. This is not something only the aims and hypothesis of this presentations, but the whole Buddhadhamma. So Buddhadhamma means, this is the Pali term, so the teachings of the Buddha. So of course there is so many ways to be described or understand what is the Dhamma. But in this sense, we will take the term Dhamma as a teachings of the Buddha. Or Buddha Dhamma means the teachings of the Buddha, the words of the Buddha, the principles of the Buddha. So like that ways. Then later on we will discuss. So under the discussion there is some points that we will discuss. That means how he was great, what he did to be said he was a great teacher. Then we will discuss later on the last advice of the Buddha, what he said for his follower for the last moment. Then we will make a kind of conclusions. So as I said before I start, actually even the introductions, I would like to pay your attention some of the misunderstanding or misunderstood points that we can see about the Buddhism among the various scholars. So the first words you see, the Buddha Dhamma or Buddhism. Now the problem is, do you think it is correct if we translate the term Buddha Dharma or Buddha Dhamma as a Buddhism? Now, you translate the teachings of the Buddha as Buddhism, or the principle of the Buddha translated to be understood for their easiness as a Buddhism by Westerner. Now, there is a problem actually in the linguistic. So if you go through the linguistic, so you will see there actually there is something called ism theories. So religion comes from the religio, the term religio, and the meaning of the religio actually the binding with the God. So there is some kind of God relationship is there. Then from the religion, then ism theory is coming. So in that sense, is it okay? Is it right? Can we translate the teachings of the Buddha, or what we say in the Pali term Buddha Dhamma, as a Buddhism? So of course, okay, now all the people do not understand what the meaning of the Buddha Dhamma, the terms. For them, we can use the Buddhism. But in the same time, we have to know that the term Buddhism is not at all, it is not enough to describe the teachings of the Buddha or the terms we say the Buddha Dhamma. Of course, for the ordinary levels, for the common sense, we can use Buddha's teaching as a Buddhism. But we have to know that when the Buddha and ism is there, it is not something like others understood the ism theories. So in short, we can say the teachings of the Buddha translated by English people, by Westerner, as a Buddhism, though this term is something related with the ism, but the last is they have added the ism, Buddhism, Buddhism. That ism is non-ism theory. Buddhism is non-ism. So this is very clear, we have to understand. Otherwise, so this is why, this is the point most of the scholars in the academic level, they are misunderstood. They are misunderstood. So we see there is some in the academic level, there is so many, even the great professor, even the great scholar, they are sometimes criticizing coming through these ways. But unfortunately, they don't know some of these important things. So without having a knowledge, or without having a knowledge about the Pali language and Sanskrit language, or some of the language that Buddhism are practicing, for example, Sri Lanka or Thailand, Myanmar, or Hindi, or others like Mahayana Buddhism, like Chinese, Tibetan, and the Vietnamese. So without knowing this kind of language, that means where the Buddhism is practicing, the language of the country where the Buddhism is practicing, without this knowledge, if you try to interpret the Buddhism, so sometimes this can be the wrong ways. So for example, even in the Oxford universities, well-known universities, so in the Oxford universities, required to know, that is to have the knowledge about the language of the Pali, language of Sanskrit, a language of Tibet, a language of Chinese. So without this kind of language knowledge, without the knowledge about this language, you cannot start study about the Buddhism. Because once you say the want to study Buddhism, you must have to follow this the primary source. The primary source are written in Pali, either in the Pali or Sanskrit or Chinese or Tibetan. So without these things, how can you say that you are going to start studying or you have studied something Buddhism? Now this is the case sometimes we see. From the Theravada side, they are not that much eager, that much aware to study about the others Sanskrit or Prakrit or some of the Mahayana, some of the Mahayana Buddhist teachings that are practicing by the various followers in the world. So in another way also, sometimes we see the Mahayanist Buddhist followers are not pay that much attention to study about the Pali. So this is where the struggling. This is why we always some kind of this is the point that make us always separated, not come to the conclusions. So once we know each other's understanding more and more, we come close. So Professor Walpura Rahula, most venerable, had written so many articles, and in one of the articles he said, the more I study the Mahayana Buddhism, the more I understand or I realized that these two traditions, especially Theravada and Mahayana Buddhism, there is no differences. There is no differences. And he further said, I realized the more similarities than differences. So this is the ways. So okay, the next point is, now sometimes, especially by the Western people, they are said, is the Buddhism is pessimistic, some kind negative. So now there is a reason they are said, okay, the Buddhism is a kind of negative ways, backward, because of some key points. There are the concept of anicca and the concept of marana. So, but we have to understand actually anicca and this marana teachings taught by the Buddha, not to be afraid. So anicca, impermanence, so thinking like all the things are impermanence, I do not have to study, I do not have to practice, I don't have to earn the knowledge, is wrong. The attachment, that means it is the impermanence teaching we have to understand, we have to keep in our mind in the case when we are so much attached to something. For example, there are some people, they have said their life is not going on without these things. So that is wrong. Now what do you do nowadays? So we saw few months back, people were so busy, their works, there's no rest, less working people are doing, earn the money. So as I remember, most venerable His Holiness Dalai Lama, once he said, people are the beings, or humans are the a kind of a group of people that they are day and night they are earning the money, money. There are no rest, no sleep, no gaps, no happiness. But going that way, that means earning the money, having money, because of not having the rest for this body and for the mental, so they get sick. Unfortunately, when they get sick, they have to spend all the money that they have earned. So what purpose it? If we have the balanced life, working, taking rest, giving rest for our body and to our mind, dealing with the family members, having or doing or fulfilling the duties and obligations. So if you go such ways, your life, it's very marvelous, and that is very useful for us. And in that way, we can be healthy for long times. So that's why, this is why actually, in that points, anicca was taught. And the next step is marana, that means the death. So thinking of death, we should not afraid. So in Tibet, there is one book called Death Books. So they actually welcoming the death. Death come to me like that. So in order to say so, you must be ready. So you are ready means that it means not like you are anytime to get, to die. It means you are already somehow, somewhere else where your mind is developed. So for this, I really would like to recommend you to study about the story of the Deepama, a lady from Bangladesh, and she stayed in India for long times. So actually about this Deepama, I learned more about this lady, or this Deepama, from actually one of the Western bhikkhunis when she was giving lectures in Sri Lanka. So you see the next point is what is Buddhism? So sometimes, as we discuss, sometimes we said that it is the religions, it is the philosophy, it is the path. So remember, we have to say this, in the Buddhism, we can see there is so many religious aspects and philosophical aspects, but more importantly, the teachings of the Buddha is neither religion nor philosophy at all. This is the path in order to see the things as they are instead of as they are appearing to our these organs. So in short, we can say Buddhism or the teachings of Buddha is the path to see the world as it is instead of as it's appeared. Then thing is, sometimes some people are struggling with the Buddhism and Buddhist culture and Buddhist follower and Buddhadhamma. So I would like to talk about something like the Buddhist culture. Now you may remember, probably nearby one year past, that means few months, I think nearly last year. It was last year. So there was a problem in Myanmar about the Rohingyas peoples and some of the Burmese peoples, local peoples. So most of the Western medias and most of the Western people are criticizing to the Myanmar, saying that these are the Buddhist people, Buddha's teachings are there. Why and how these people can harm to these people? So coming in that ways, they are criticizing actually, they are making a kind of wrong news, fake news about the Buddhism. So we have to remember that Buddhadhamma, the teachings of the Buddha is one thing, the culture of that particular country, which country it says most of the people are following the Buddhism or Buddha's teaching, is the difference. Culture is something created by themselves, created by or given by themselves or established by themselves. In the culture, there are so many wrong can be seen. Even the culture of the Buddhism, Buddhist culture, this can be wrong. So what do you mean by the Buddhist culture? You mean by the Buddhist culture means where the many people are following the teachings of the Buddha, and their culture is called the Buddha's or Buddhist culture. So there is nothing relationship with the Buddha's teachings. Buddha never said to harm anyone. So because of your cultural situation, because you want to protect your country, because you want to protect your generations, because you want to say what you are thinking is right, then you come with the mind of like, this is our culture, this is our nation, this is my country, this is my people, this is my guru, this is my community. So that is that way. But exactly the teachings of the Buddha, in the teachings of the Buddha, there is no separation. So be careful. This is a kind of giving you warning. Some of the Westerners we have to give this. This is a kind of wrong. So just because of their cultural wrong, you are not allowed, you are not ought to criticize the pure teachings of the Buddha. Now we say the teachings of the Buddha is universal truth. The teachings of the Buddha is not only for the Buddhism, only for the Buddhist. All the people whoever want to be happy. So you see, this is the points that actually we have to dig more and more. Okay, then the next point is, if you see in the slide, So what are the namely Buddhist and the followers and the non-religious? So now there is, okay, sometimes we say we are the Buddhist, or I am the Buddhist because my father and my families are the Buddhist. So since they are follow the teaching of the Buddhas or Buddhist traditions, so I am the Buddhist. And there is a people who said we do not follow any religions. So now the question that I would like to ask you, what do you think, who can attain or understand the teachings of the Buddha clearly, the quicker among these two groups? So sometimes we are the two traditions. We are the Buddhist people, we are the Buddhist tradition, we have to observe the sila, we have to give the dana, we have to charity, we have to make ceremonies. We are limited. Sometimes we do not follow the teachings of the Buddha, but we follow some of the duties and obligations. So, Amisa and Pratipatti Buddhist too. Amisa is Amisa means giving charity, making the ceremonies, like devotions. But Pratipatti Puja, that following the exact teachings of the Buddha is very important. So the whole discussion we are now following, we are going to discuss actually to show the importance of following the teachings of the Buddha. We should not be limited. We should not be limited in a kind of cultural systems that we got or we are in a tradition that we by birth we got these things. That means by birth, because I am the Buddhist, so I should not limit it. We have to go beyond that. Of course, we have to do the Amisa Puja. That means giving the charity, organizing ceremony, observing the seal, and sharing the Dhammas. We should do that. But there is something Buddha emphasizes more than that. That is called the practicing the teachings of the Dhamma. So these are some of the misunderstanding that some people have. This is what we discuss. So next slide. Okay. Now this is our. Of course, I'm not going to introduce who is the Buddha very so much deeply, because you know those things very well. So okay, let's read these things. Buddha was born in the 6th century BC. Generally, that is what we believe. A renunciation after having realized the unavoidable reality. Unavoidable reality means actually nobody can change that. Nobody can change getting old. Nobody can change the getting sick, and nobody can avoid the death. So the Bodhisattva, that means the Prince Siddhartha, saw this reality. Then he renounced from the palace. Then after the 6 years searching the ultimate, for the ultimate reality, then finally he attained the Buddhahood. Then his first preaching was Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, in which the Four Noble Truths are taught, and those are we can see the universal truth for the betterment of all beings. And as I said, actually this is the okay, all people are there. Good to see that. Okay, you see, and this is okay. Okay, this is the amen hypothesis. Hypothesis means rough meaning. For example, what can be happen? What will be the result? So, what is the aim of the Buddha, and what is the result of practicing the teachings of the Buddha? So, the noble aim of teachings of the Buddha is to show the noble path for the total freedom of cosmic suffering. And then, what will the result? The ultimate result of Buddha Dhamma, of practicing the teachings of the Buddha, is overall eradication of all defilements. Okay, now in the discussion, these are the things that we would like to talk about. In the discussion, you see. So let's go for the the just readings. Beings, that means the humans are not human beings. Actually, all the beings are actually a reciprocal combination of mind and body. Although physically one can stay healthy for some times. So as you know, Roga Sutta we discussed. In the Roga Sutta it says there are two kinds of sickness, mental sickness and physical sickness. In the same sutta it stated that okay, if a person manage their timetables, like properly eating, properly sleeping, properly take care of their body, so there are some people we can find that who are living or who are having a healthy physical body for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, up to like that, up to for longest like the 100 years. But in the same Sutta Buddha said, if a person is not fully enlightened, that person each and every moment facing some troubles. That means that person is sick for each and every moment, mental. So that's why it says, and the aim of the Buddha's teaching is actually to eradicate this mental illness, So in order to overcome from cosmic suffering, sansarika dukkha. So the Buddha, having realized the ultimate happiness, preached the Dhamma for others. Then, as a teachers of three existence, what are the three existence? Human, realms, and humans and Deva, like that. Then, so as a teachers of the three existence, Buddha was and his Dhamma is the great path. So he was the great guide for the people to be realize the ultimate happiness. And this path, now we know that the aim of the Buddha is to actually eradicate all the mental problems that can be seen within a person who is still not fully enlightened person. So the process, it says Visuddhi Magga, the path of purifications. So the teachings of the Buddha, we can say the path of purification, the way, the guidelines that he have given for the purification. Purification from what? All the cosmic suffering. So, as we discussed, now Buddha was a great teacher and he was a great guider. He was a great supporter for the people who are seeking the happiness. So because of his knowledge, because of his quality, because of his ability, so Buddha was known Maggahinnu, Maggavidu, Maggapovidu. That means the well-known person. The Buddha knew the path for this happiness clearly, extremely, deeply. So such kind of beings are there. Entirely. He exactly know the path to be happy. And of course, we have to, the thing is that why these terms used for the Buddhas? Because we know during the time of the Buddhas, there were so many other teachers who said themselves there was the enlightened and they know the real path for the moksha, for the ultimate happiness. But some who went to them and came to the Buddhas after knowing the differences between these and who is the real path shower, then they said, okay, these are the actually Buddhas are the real guidance. Buddha is real instructor. Buddha is real person who can show the path for this ultimate happiness. So that's why in that sense they are using to make the kind of highlighted, to say that yes, this is the right person. This is the exact person who can show you the path for happiness. So that's why they are used this kind of terms. In Sutta we can see. So what was the path? The path was this one, Aryuvattangiko Magga. So I'm not going to talk about the Aryuvattangika Magga, the 8 noble path, because you know those things very well. But today our aim is actually how Buddha helped, to some people, to some person, to be understand or to be realize this path. That is where we are going to show. So what he said, how he said, we are going to how he said, not what he said. So that's why, of course, he always tried to say these things. The Eight Noble Path was his main things. So we are not going to discuss those things. And yeah, this is the what we have to know and the things. Now, from the beginning until the the last moment, so there was so many disciples of the Buddhas. He had so many disciples. But this is why he is a great teacher, we can see. Because during those days there was many teachers who thought they are the leader, they are the great leader, they are the great person, they are the enlightened person, and they because they have many followers. So if you know the story of the holy and Buddhist, that means the Sariputta and Moggallana, where they came to the Buddha. So we know how there were some other teachers who was a kind of unnecessarily showing off their self, saying that they was leader. So you see, as a leader, as a teacher, the Buddha did not have any idea to be the leader of many followers, to be honored by others, and to show off his ability. And he did not have any claim, or even he did not say he is enlightened unnecessarily. So you may know there is one story where, in the long journey, so there was one occasion where the Buddha and a person who was toward to the Buddha to meet the Buddha, and they meet each others on the way, and the whole night there was discussion among this person and Buddha, but he did not realize that it was the Buddha, because Buddha did not make any point, did not say any way to say I am the Buddha. So he did not boost himself, he did not try to show up himself. So but in the necessary times when it needs, he said he did. So, and the next thing is, okay, the Buddhadhamma reality. So now we know, now we are going to try to see the nature of his teachings, the nature of the Buddha's teachings. So you see, because I shall show you how the Dhamma is similar to a raft, being for the purpose of crossing over a river, not for the purpose of grasping. That means the aim of the Buddha's teaching is not to attach with it, not to grasp it, but to use it as a tool in order to overcome these problems. Like when you have to cross the rivers, you just need a raft or a boat to cross these things. So after you crossing the rivers, you do not take that boat or raft with you. If you take it, it will be bothering you to achieve where you want to go. So that's why Buddha said in the Alakadupama Sutta, monks do not attach or do not grasp or do not link unnecessarily with the Dhammas. Just practice it as a tool in order to overcome the cosmic suffering. So in the Anguttara Nikaya, there is again the Buddha said, So you must open the Dhammas. You must discuss the Dhammas. You must listen to the Dhammas. You must share the Dhammas. You must practice the Dhammas. If you know more things about the Dhamma, you keep silence, you keep in your mind, and you don't share, you don't discuss, you don't listen. Sometimes, for example, today there's so many Tripitaka books in the cupboards. So, keeping the Tripitaka books in the cupboards instead of practicing what it says is useless. It's useless. So that's why now, of course, personally, I believe there is two kinds of silence. There are two kinds of silence. One silence is we know the truth and we just keep silence. We just walk the right path and we go for it. And there is another silence. We are silent because we don't have anything to say. We don't know anything how to say. So which one is better? Knowing everything is still your silence is better, is good, is great than being silent or keeping silent, doing or knowing nothing. So that's why after having all the things, so that's the person I said, learn not to learn, speak not to speak. So speak not to speak means not I say some wrong words to this person and that person will not to talk to me, not like that. We have to speak, we have to face the problems in order to not to come that problems once again. So a few days ago, a person explained me that if we have some kind of disease or if we have a kind of virus in our body and it's gone, it says the second time the same virus will not affect to me, this body, same bodies. So it's very interesting. So that's why we have to face the problem to overcome the problems. If we try to skip the problems will come again. So that's why actually Buddha said, dikte mattan bhavisati. What we have seen, just form. Think those as a form. What you heard, those are just sound. Don't bring those things into the house. Those bring that form into the house. So we are trying to bring all the things, what that person said, what that person looked like, bring all the things and thinking and making so many problems, unnecessary problems. So that's why Buddha said, Dhamma is bright, Dhamma is shining when you practice it. When you practice it. With the practicing, Dhamma is not shining. Then, okay, now I would like to share with you a kind of one stories. There was a monk, someone called Dhammarama. You may know during or in the day of the Buddhas, that means when the Buddha was passing away, during the time of the Buddha's Parinibbana, there was a monk who thought, I will become, or I want to become, or I want to attain Arahanthood following the teachings of the Buddha before Buddha passed away, before Buddha's Mahaparinibbana. So he went aside while other monks was crying. Crying means ordinary monks, ordinary lay person, ordinary bhikkhu, bhikkhunis was a kind of cry and sorrowful. And other monks, there was a kind of Dhamma samvega. So while some Putujjana monks were crying, and this Dhammarama Thero, he went aside and doing meditations. In the same time, there was some monk who saw these monks in the forest doing something, just sitting under the tree like this. So someone went to him and blamed him, criticized him. What kind of person you are? The teachers of us, our teachers, is going to die or going to pass away today. You do not have any deep faith on our teachers. So you must come to the Buddhas, and they took that Dhammarama to the Buddhas. So Dhammarama was coming to the Buddhas, unwilling, with unwilling. So Buddha asked, why you do so? Then explain, okay, this don't happen. Then Buddha asked, is it true that they said? Then he said, yes, it's true. But Buddha can know that while he was doing the meditation, when he's come to him, he was actually attained Arahant. So Buddha said, that's why that time Buddha said, who want to respect me, respect the Dhamma. Who want to see the Dhamma, see the Dhammas. So that's why actually it is the practical things, or the practice of the teachings of Buddha is very important than following the kind of traditional things unnecessary. So here, to be said, why Buddha was a great teacher, in order to show the great path. So of course, today we are not discussing here. There were so many people. There were so many high-class people came to the Buddha, realized Dhamma, like the king, millionaire, and the village leaders, monks, nuns, lay peoples. There are so many. But today our discussion is mainly focused on how Buddha, while Buddha was showing the path for the rich people, high-class people, in the same time, Buddha also was kind enough. That's why he, of course, is the Mahakaruniko, great compassionate one. He also showed his great compassion to the low-class people also. So this is one of the very famous story in the Buddhism we can see. So the story is actually will come later. But now I want to say how this sharing or being as a teacher started. So Yasa is the 6th month in the Buddha Sasana. That means after the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, there was the 4 months, 5 months. After that, the 6th month was Yasa. So Yasa was very, this prince Yasa was very young and luxurious. He has spent his life luxury, but and then he had so many servants and dancers, singer. So one midnight he wake up and he saw there is something, those people who was dancing, who was singing, now their reality is so bad, sleeping here and there, and the ugly things are there. Then he left house, then he went, thinking, being a disappointment, thinking about that. Then on the way, then he realized Buddha saw him, and Buddha addressed him and teach him the Dhammas, and he became the bhikkhus, and he became the Arahants. So after that, so some of his friends also, when they know that, okay, our good friends become the monks, now it is time for us to become the monks. So it says there was 50 of his friends became the monks in the same time after this Prince Yasa. So after that they started, the teachings Dhamma toward the peoples. As you know, after that Buddha went for the 3 Jatilas, how he condemned these 3 Jatilas. Those stories are going on that ways. And okay, as I mentioned, Buddha was a great teacher because he was equal. He was great compassionate. In the same ways, how he did for the billionaire kings and billionaire and the leaders, in the same way, he also always tried to have the people who are in real deep suffering. So one of them is actually Sunita Sopaka. So I would recommend you, please read with me. Please read with me. So this is the Sunita Sopaka. Okay, let me say the story is how it started. The Sunita Sopaka was a little poor boy. So at the age of 7, his father passed away. Then his mother married another man. So his son, the mothers and this little boy Sopaka, they were so very each other, very love and very kindness and very compassion, very too close. So the stepfathers did not like it. So what he did is actually always beating this poor child and always blaming, criticizing, never took care of this boy. So one day the stepfather was disappointed. He said, okay, I must do something for this little boy. Because of this little boy, I cannot do anything what I want here. Then what he did actually, he was calling the little boy and saying like, okay son, let's go for the walks. They went, and unfortunately what he did is actually taking him to the cemetery and fighting with the dead bodies. He kept the little boy there. So now little boy is also suffering, a smell suffering. So now in the evening, now his dark is coming. So the wolves and the others animals were making sound. So this little boy is very feared. Then at the same times, it says. So when he was situation like this, so it says, we know that the Buddha is always looking for his samapatti dhyana. So Buddha saw in his meditations this poor boy. So he put the light from the Jetavana monastery to this little boy. So he came. Buddha came. So this is how the story is going on, while the light coming from the Jetavana monastery to the little boy in the cemetery, and these are some words. So it says, Sopaka, don't cry, I'm here to help you. And so don't fear. Who said? This said by the Buddha. At that moment, Sopaka broke his bonds and stood before the Buddha in the Jetavana monastery. The Buddha bathed him and gave him the food to eat, clothes to wear, and consult for the comfort him. Then what was happening is actually, and finally he is going home, and his mother saying, okay, let's read. Meanwhile, on returning home, the weak stepfather was questioned by Sopaka's mother, where is my son? She asked, then I don't know, he replied. That means the stepfather said, then he come before me, that means, okay. Then he came home before me, but the mother could not sleep the whole night for worrying about her child. So this is another thing. Then the early next day she went. Let me take this piece like this. Okay. Next day she went to see the Buddha for help, because we know now she is a kind of things that she lost her child. So went to the Buddha and said, why? So Buddha asked him, why are you crying, sister? The Lord Buddha, so she replied to the Buddhas, I have only one son, and since last night he was being missing. My husband took Sopaka for a walk, and the little boy never returned home. So what the Buddha said is, don't worry sister, your son is safe, he is here. And so saying, the Buddha showed her Sopaka, who had become a monk. The mother was overjoyed to see her son again, and after listening to the Buddha's teaching, she too became a follower. So you see, this is how the Buddha, without thinking, without measuring the place, without measuring the where you are, who you are, how you are, what class you are, without measuring this, without considering that, he was great compassionate to help. So this is the why he is become the great teachers. So of course, in order to say the great teachers, there is 1,000 and 1,000 stories, 1,000 and 1,000 the teachings. Of course, this dhammas was taught by the Buddha as a great teachers for the human beings. So we are just taking only one or two. There is very small things we are talking here, but still there is much. So these are the pictures that you can see. These are the pictures. How you see that the boys in the cemetery with the dead bodies in the cemetery. You see the monks coming and helping. So this was what was happened. Then you can see the Angulimal. So Angulimal was helpless helpless. He was helpless. So be as a great teacher. So he was helping to the Angulimal. So you see there is these mothers. So yeah, this is the mothers who was coming to save the Angulimal. But he actually he was about to kill any person who ever coming to him at that moment. So before Buddha saw the potentiality of Angulimal to become the Arahant, then Buddha reached there before these mothers, before he do any Anantariya Kamma. So before he doing any Anantariya Kamma, before Buddha presented there and said, so what was happening actually at this moment, Angulimala, of course you know the stories, all the stories, he was a very nice person. In order to show the gratitude to his teachers, he was become like this. So there was a small conversation there. So while Angulimala was happy and seeing the Buddha, okay, now I got it, I will cut the fingers off, then I will fulfill of my 1,000 fingers. So he was running after Buddha to kill him. So then Angulimala said, don't run, stop there. Don't run, stop there. Then Buddha said, I already stopped, but you are running. So he was thought, what do you mean by the you stop? I see you are running. So of course Buddha realized, Buddha explained that I am stopped in mind. So you still struggling with so many defilements. So you must stop it. So you see how great, as a great teacher, he went to the help of the killer. You consider murder. Yeah, sometimes you consider Angulimala, it's a murder. So in the same times, of course, in the next slide you see how Buddha was helpful to a mother who was crying sorrowfully and who was lost all the hopes because of her one and only child death. In the Patacharya stories also, of course, you know the Patacharya story also, she lost at this moment her father, mothers, brothers and husband and 2 children. So she was she was helpless, she was a kind of mad. So finally she came to the Buddha and Buddha helped her to overcome these problems. So this is all. So now in the conclusion, what I would like to say is this: the teachings, the Buddha come to this world in order to show the light for the darkness to achieve the great happiness. The aim